Welcome to the deep dive. You send us the stacks, the notes, all those conflicting articles, and, well, we pull out the core insights you really need.
We try our best, anyway.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Today, we're tackling something I think a lot of us feel. It's this weird tension, right, between trying to be super productive and, actually getting stuff done.
Oh, yeah. That feeling of being overwhelmed because you're trying so hard to optimize everything.
Precisely. If that sounds like you, if you're feeling anxious because of all the self-improvement stuff, not in spite of it, then yeah, this deep dive is definitely for you.
We've got two really fascinating stacks today, and they seem almost completely opposed at first glance.
Totally. One is this really sharp, modern take, tearing into the whole self-improvement trap, arguing we're optimizing ourselves into misery.
Over-optimized and underperforming.
And the other, it's like stepping back in time. It's that intense laser focus demanded by, the classic foundational success philosophies, think Napoleon Hill kind of stuff.
Right, all about singular will and purpose.
So our mission today is to figure out why trying to build that perfect Instagrammable life often leads to just paralysis, and what that old school idea of definite purpose really truly requires.
Yeah, trying to bridge that gap, which kind of focus actually works. Let's get into it.
Okay, let's unpack that first critique. The main idea from this source stack is, honestly, it's a bit jarring. It basically says, trying too hard to perfect your life. That's what stops you.
It really is the paradox of optimization, isn't it? The sources paint this picture, and it's so recognizable. People who are like optimized every single second.
Tracking macros.
Checking their sleep scores, using 12 different apps for their schedule, all of it. And yet the sources say they're still anxious, miserable, and late for everything.
It's like they see their life as this, I don't know, buggy computer.
Exactly, and they're constantly trying to debug it, fiddling with the morning routine, trying to perfectly stack habits, running diagnostics just to squeeze out like an extra 2% efficiency.
It's exhausting just hearing about it.
Well, yeah, and that constant need for sort of external proof that you're in control, that's the trap. This belief that life is just an operating system you can patch. It's an illusion.
You end up chasing the feeling of organization instead of actual results. That color-coded calendar feels good for a minute.
Right, the dopamine hit of planning, not doing. We mistake that feeling of control for real accomplishment.
And that leads straight into the whole performative aspect, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Self-improvement shifts from being about, actual internal growth to becoming a brand. It's not how can I feel better anymore.
It's how can I look like someone who feels better.
Precisely. Which explains those absolutely legendary morning routines you see online.
Oh, God, yeah. The 4 a.m. wake-up call.
Followed by the cold plunge, the sauna session, the 47 different expensive supplements.
An hour of journaling, deep breathing.
And then you're so wiped out from performing the routine that, like the source says, you have a mental breakdown by 10 a.m.
It's literally a job before your actual job.
And the cycle just repeats, doesn't it? The moment the routine slips, even slightly, bam. Radical hard reset.
Dopamine detoxes, monk mode, deleting all social media.
Only to find them a week later, as one source vividly put it, chain smoking outside a cafe, eating a pastry bigger than their head.
It's so specific, it has to be true.
The real problem here, according to these sources, is just overstructuring everything. The person obsessed with the look of discipline, often the least productive.
Spends 3 hours prepping for work.
Watching motivational YouTube, rewriting goals again, fiddling with the Trello board.
But, and this is the key part, doesn't actually do anything.
Exactly. Preparation becomes the substitute for actually applying anything.
And the sources contrast that with, the person who might roll in slightly hungover maybe, but is just focused on getting the thing done.
Yeah, they're not building a persona of discipline. They're just doing the work, the messy, necessary work.
So deep down, what's driving this optimization mania?
Well, the sources suggest it's fundamentally about fear. Fear of failure, maybe, but more specifically, fear of, wasting potential.
Okay. So trying to control every little thing, diet, sleep, habits, it's an attempt to control the outcome.
Pretty much, to minimize risk. But life isn't really optimizable like that, is it? You can't, as the source says, optimize chaos. And real life, real achievement, it involves a fair bit of chaos.
That idea of chaos and the paralysis that comes from trying to control it, that's actually a perfect bridge. Because our second stack, the classic stuff, it demands focus too, but it's different.
Yeah, it's intense, singular focus, but it's directed outward. towards a really specific, non-negotiable goal.
Right. Instead of performing anxiety about your routine, this demands you perform absolute certainty about your goal.
The core idea is powerful. Thoughts are things, real forces, especially when you mix them with purpose, persistence, and what's the phrase they use?
A burning desire.
That's it, a burning...
This isn't about tweaking your morning coffee, is it? It's about cultivating this intense, almost overwhelming emotional commitment. The belief that big things start with a state of mind, a single purpose.
And the desire has to be white hot, intense enough that you'll put up with years of, well, discomfort or rejection, like that story of Edwin C. Barnes.
Right, the guy who shows up basically looking like a tramp.
But with this fierce, unwavering intention, become Thomas Edison's business partner.
Okay, wait, let me push back slightly here. Barnes takes 5 years of menial work, right? No promises, just to be near Edison. How is that really different from the modern person spending 5 years endlessly tweaking a side hustle, never launching because it's not perfect? Isn't Barnes just like the OG self-improvement addict?
That's a fair question, but the distinction, I think, is crucial. The modern optimizer, their focus is internal. Perfecting the self or the system is the goal. They're chasing internal control. Barnes, his focus was entirely external. Partnering with Edison, that was it. His mental energy wasn't wasted tracking his steps or debating journaling methods. It was locked onto that definite purpose.
So the menial labor was just a means to that very specific end. He endured it because the desire for the partnership outweighed the need for immediate comfort or, proof of progress.
Exactly. He wouldn't let his mind entertain the question, what's the point? Quitting just wasn't an option in his mind.
And that level of commitment, that refusal to quit, that's why this philosophy hammers home the cost of giving up, right?
Absolutely. The story of Arya Darby and the gold mine, it's like the classic cautionary tale.
Yeah, he and his uncle find gold, start drilling, the vein disappears. They just quit, sell the equipment for basically nothing to a junk man.
And the gut punch, the detail that always gets me, is the junk man gets an engineer.
Who figures out the gold vein was literally just 3 feet from where the Darbys had stopped drilling.
3 feet, imagine.
Brutal.
But Darby learned, right? He didn't get rich from that mine, but the source says he became hugely successful later in insurance because he internalized that lesson. He learned from his quit ability, as the source puts it.
He basically swore never again. Use that one massive failure to fuel everything else.
It demands that kind of radical commitment. It's the whole burning the ships idea.
Yeah.
You make it impossible to retreat.
Like Marshall Field after the Great Chicago Fire. His competitors were packing up, leaving the city.
But he stands there amid the smoking ruins and says, basically, right here, on this spot, I'm building the world's greatest store, no matter how many times it burns down.
Wow. That decision just locked him in. No going back.
And that kind of decisive action, that's what separates wishing from achieving in this philosophy. And this is where the classic stuff gets, well, incredibly rigorous. It's not just about desire, it's about the actual mechanics of making it real.
Okay, so we need to define a key term here. They use the word transmutation, right?
Yeah.
Which sounds a bit intense.
It does, yeah. But basically, it's the process they outline for changing that non-physical thing, the desire, the thought, into its physical or financial equivalent. It's the action framework.
So it takes the fuzzy idea of wanting something and makes it concrete, demands actual steps.
Exactly. And this is where the rigor differs from the modern trap. It's not rigor applied to perfecting your morning routine. It's rigor applied to a definite, actionable plan.
Let's break down those famous 6 steps then. How do you actually transmute desire?
Yeah. Okay, step 1. Clarity is key. You have to fix in your mind the exact amount of money you want. Not just a lot or enough, an actual number.
Specificity. Got it. What's 2?
Step 2. Determine exactly what you intend to give in return. No free lunch. You have to be clear on the value you'll provide, the work you'll do, your side of the bargain.
Makes sense. Step 3.
Establish a definite date, a deadline by which you intend to have that money. This kills vague someday thinking.
Creates urgency. Okay, 4.
Number 4, and this is really critical. Create a definite plan to get there. And here's the picker. Start executing it immediately, whether you feel ready or not.
That's where the optimizer gets stuck, right? Waiting for perfect readiness.
Precisely. Step 5 is about cementing it. Write down a clear, concise statement covering those first 4 points. The amount, the return, the date, the plan. Put it in writing.
And a final step. Number 6.
Step 6 is all about the mental side, the psychological conditioning. You read that written statement aloud twice a day, night and morning, and crucially, you have to see and feel yourself already in possession of the money.
Whoa, so it's not just wanting it, it's living the reality of it in your mind before it happens.
That's the core of it, conditioning your subconscious to accept it as inevitable.
What strikes me is how much this whole structure seems to rely on just being decisive.
Absolutely. The source explicitly states that lack of decision is like one of the top 30 reasons for failure. Success demands quick, firm decisions.
And they use that historical example, right? The guys signing the Declaration of Independence.
Yeah, the 56 signers.
Yeah.
Talk about a definite decision. They were literally staking their lives on it. And the source makes the point that they made that decision, held that Congress, long before Washington's army actually secured victory on the battlefield.
So the decision itself created the momentum, the power.
It cemented it. They burned their ships, metaphorically and, well, almost literally, in terms of consequences.
Okay, so let's try and bring these two worlds together.
Bro.
On one hand, you've got the modern person kind of paralyzed by trying to perfect their inner world, their habits, terrified of an imperfect routine.
Stuck in optimization paralysis.
And on the other, you have these historical figures focused entirely outward on these huge, maybe terrifying goals, but fueled by this raw, burning desire.
So where's the middle ground, or the common thread? The synthesis seems to lie in, well, simplification, leading to actual momentum. Well, the classical philosophy, even with all its intensity and rigor, actually echoes the modern critique in a way. It implicitly says all the prep, the tracking, the journaling, the goal-setting marathons, it's useless unless you apply it, unless you do the work.
Right. That optimization routine can just be a really fancy form of procrastination.
Totally. A distraction disguised as growth, as one source put it. It feels productive, gives you that little dopamine hit, but without the actual risk or effort of doing the thing.
So it's not about reading 50 more books on productivity.
No, it's about actually doing the plan from the last one you read, or the plan that's been sitting in your notes app since, 2022.
Guilty as charged. So the classic approach demands action over aesthetics.
Exactly. And that ties back directly to the conclusion from the self-improvement critique. Remember that quote. You will never be perfectly optimized, but you can be consistent. And honestly, that's infinitely better.
Yeah, consistency over perfection.
The winners, it seems, are the ones who know when to stop tinkering, when to stop tweaking the system and just start. They get maybe 70% right.
And figure out the rest as they go. In motion.
Right. Which leads to this almost paradoxical idea that real progress is actually kind of boring, quiet, and repetitive.
Doesn't make for a great Instagram post, does it? No 5 a.m. montage potential.
None at all. So the real solution maybe is to simplify your definite plan enough that you can actually stick to it without driving yourself crazy. Focus the rigor on executing the simple plan, not on building the perfect complex system.
It's the difference between, taking selfies during your cold plunge, the persona of discipline, versus just quietly, consistently doing the messy work laid out in your plan.
And that quiet consistency, that focus on execution, that's what allows for that crucial shift the classical sources demand, a fundamental shift in your state of mind.
Away from what they call failure consciousness.
Exactly. The anxiety-driven optimizer is trapped in failure consciousness, constantly worrying about what could go wrong, optimizing against failure. The driven achiever, fueled by definite purpose, cultivates success consciousness.
Success consciousness, meaning you genuinely believe your goal is achievable, almost inevitable, and you just need to execute the steps.
Pretty much. You believe so strongly that you start acting as if it's already done. It flips the script entirely. You're not optimizing out of fear anymore. You're acting out of desire.
That energy we spend tweaking and worrying
Could be channeled directly into just doing those 6 steps, executing the plan. That seems to be the ultimate synthesis. #tag outro.
So when you boil it down, the core difference between these two approaches seems to be about what you fear more. The modern optimizer fears wasting potential, which leads to this paralyzing need for control.
While the classic achiever uses a burning desire for a specific outcome to force action despite the risks, despite the fear, which, historically at least, seems linked to massive success.
It really comes down to that state of mind again. Success comes to those who become success conscious, as the source says. Failure comes to those who indifferently allow themselves to become failure conscious.
That indifference is key, just letting failure consciousness seep in.
So maybe the real luxury of success isn't just the money or the free time. Maybe it's that profound internal shift, that unshakable feeling that you've made your choice, you've burned the ships.
And you're absolutely committed to drilling those last 3 feet no matter what.
Which leaves us with a final thought for you, the listener. How much of your energy right now is spent optimizing your fears, trying to patch this system, versus how much is truly focused on fueling your definite desire? Something to think about.
Definitely something to mull over.
Until the next deep dive.